I'm Bissy Atkins.
Hey guys, I'm Mike Slimster.
And I'm Clara Teku, and this is Culture
Unfiltered.
So you guys ready?
Let's get it.
Yep. Let's go.
Let's go. All right, what do you have for us?
So recently, right, everybody went up in arms about Adele wearing a Jamaican flag bra, right, and some feathers behind her, and basically looking like a classic yacht girl, right? And everybody said it was cultural appropriation. And the entire UK was against Black Americans on Twitter about it just being cultural appreciation. So that was a debate. That was a thing. I don't know. Where do you guys stand on that? Do you think it's appreciation or do you think it's appropriation?
Claire, what do you think?
This is hard. And I think when it comes to appropriation, I'm still figuring out, like, for me, what I'm comfortable with. And I think I'm very sensitive more so when it comes to other races appropriating Black culture and African culture and the diaspora's culture. For me, with this situation in particular, like, I like Adele. She's part of the Beehive. She's been down with the girls. So she's, like, good in my hood. I thought...
But see, that creates another problem, right? Are we just going to invite everyone to the cookout just because they wear a Jamaican flag, right? That's.
So she had Bantu knots, right? Was that part of the look?
I think that was the cocoa of the matter. I think that was what was pressing people, right?
Yeah.
Because of the hairstyle and because she is a white Caucasian woman and that traditionally isn't a hairstyle that she would wear. And people were more pressed to the fact that they said, she wouldn't wear this to the Grammys or she wouldn't wear this to this award. So why is she wearing it for this thing? So I think that's what
the was your people though. This was your people. It was the UK blacks. The British blacks came and stopped all the African Americans and said, y'all always think that you can police blackness. We approved of Adele. She's had Black friends. She grew up in Tottenham. She's been down.
Wait, did you say Tottenham?
Yes, Tottenham.
What is it?
Tottenham. Say it again, Tottenham.
Oh, Tottenham.
No, Claire, you did well. I don't know what you're doing.
But yeah, like they said, she grew up in Tottenham. She had many Black friends when she was there. She was down. And African Americans like, what? What are you guys even talking about? Like, this the Adele that we all know, like from my hometown.
I mean, here's my thing. I think when it comes to cultural appropriation, it's the same thing of how I feel about other races using the N-word. A lot of us saying the N-word is us kind of reclaiming what was used against us negatively. And I think that goes for like the pro-ho movement as well. It's kind of like reclaiming things that were like used against us in the past. And so, I think that like the Jamaican flag, I don't care. We just, we're going to have a conversation with Walshy Fire and I'm just like, touch on, the appreciation for Jamaican culture that, goes globally. And so with the Jamaican flag, I felt appreciation. When it came to the Bantu knots, I was like, I felt a way, and that's because there's been times where I've worn my hair in Bantu knots and then had to deal with, passive aggression from whites or like very ignorant questions. And so for when white people do these things, when they wear braids, when they wear cornrows, it's like you're getting to do this without having to go through the struggle that we had to go through to be able to, do these same things. So that's where I was like, I don't like this.
Here's my take on it, right? I feel like, here's my take on it. I feel like with this, it's very important that we put things into context, right? Firstly, when we discuss cultural appropriation, we need to understand what is the definition of cultural appropriation anyway. What is defined as cultural appropriation?
Yeah,
if we go to Google, let me type it in. Cultural appropriation is the unacknowledged or inappropriate adoption of the customs, practices, ideas, etc. of one people or society by members of another and a typically more dominant people society. So yeah, cool. If Adele, white, from a dominant people, adopts a particular thing from blacks, the not dominant people, we can be like, rah, to it, and she doesn't acknowledge us with that, rah, you're definitely culturally appropriating. However, right, it was Notting Hill Carnival. That is a thing that's been happening in the UK for so long, and it is a Caribbean, and I think Jamaican festival used to celebrate Jamaican culture, Jamaican music, and the Caribbean. It's a Caribbean festival that happens year in. This is the first time it didn't go through, right? Where people go there of all different races, all different religions, and they dress up in carnival attire to celebrate Notting Hill Carnival, which is their intention to celebrate Jamaicans, correct? So if now Adele was walking in the festival, and let's say forget Adele, we could have Chloe or Sarah, give me another Becky or Rachel, I don't know, another white
or Karen.
Karen 2 years ago, going down Notting Hill Carnival wearing a bikini top that had Jamaican flags on it or whatever, and she could have had the feathers costume. She's doing what they do at Notting Hill Carnival. That's what people do. They dress up in carnival attire to celebrate Jamaican culture. In the caption of Adele, she said, shout out to the Notting Hill Carnival people, them. I don't know what the caption was, but she made reference to the reason why she was dressed up like that. It was for the carnival. My issue now is that I feel like, yes, people have a point in making, okay, people do culturally appropriate and we need to express ourselves if we feel like that has happened. But in this instance, particularly this one, I think people are bored, overly sensitive, and wanted to make a fuss. Well, lie to lie. And they're like, oh yeah, we like Adele, she's been down. So this, be quiet. Listen, it was for the what's it called?
Nothing.
Exactly. And when she was in that carpool and she rapped the whole Nicki Minaj thing, was we now saying because she says hello, she can't rap because Nicki's black? And no, so we pick and choose when we want to be vexed. And that's my issue with our people. It's not that serious.
You came through with the education. I can't even be mad.
He said, I knew the setup was coming. Like, let's talk about context. I say,
no, it's important. And I feel like because sometimes things are taken out of context and people are so social media or Twitter or whatever, when someone says something, they just go full throttle with their opinions and then it just spirals and goes out of control. And things are often taken out of context, and then we can have obstrued opinions just said over something that was so minuscule. And I think in this instance, it was definitely blown out of proportion. People should have been more vexed when, I don't know, some fashion labels have black faces, or fashion labels do the dreadlocks, or fashion. That's when you should be more vexed. But in the instance
or some were putting sperm on black people's faces. I have a picture of them.
Like there are more things.
Yes, Claire, it happened. It definitely happened. It was a thing. They could come, and it was a concept for Fashion Week. It was the dumbest thing. Yeah.
Okay. In New York,
I'm not even kidding.
New York Fashion Week, they
I think I can't remember the brand, but yeah, they put It was actually very real. It looked like a meme, but it happened.
Yeah,
it came and left. It's one of those things that happen on Twitter that comes and disappears. Yes.
Yeah.
It was coming people's faces, and they walked down the runway, and that was it.
It's mad.
Like Bissy said, people are bored. People are in the house. People are bored, so we have more time to get mad at things. That's something that we would have had to have like a whole
conversation, because
for example, we just found out the other day that Fat Joe was white passing as a kid. Like he had a perm and everything. Like he looked like a kid named Tanner. Yeah, he looked like a good old. Yeah.
Serious? But why? Why did he do that?
I don't know. I think street cred. I feel like he knew that if he cut his hair.
Yeah.
Huh?
So not even street cred. You get white suburb cred, or whatever the opposite of street cred is, where it's like, I'm white passing now, I get to reap the benefits of being like a white American.
No, but this is when he was a kid. This is when he was like 5.
Oh wow.
Yeah, as a kid, he was very white passing. He looked like a white kid. But it's interesting because then when they found the picture, it's kind of like, whoa, Fat Joe kind of pulled Joe Dozal
He
on
pulled
us.
he pulled a Rick Ross. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly right. You know, he cleaned up. He cleaned up real quick for the rap game. So
yeah, I feel like it's important though for us to say, or for me to say, that with regards to people feeling upset about something they have seen, everyone's entitled to how they feel. And I am not a Jamaican woman. I am not Jamaican at all. I am fully full throttle Nigerian, born and raised in London. So there may have been nuances, maybe in the feathers, or maybe in something that people felt like this was offensive. But as a grand scheme sort of blanket thing, I do feel like because it was Adele, she got the short end of the stick, and people just wanted something to win back her for.
But Jamaicans weren't bad.
They were. It was the African Americans. And I was more annoyed. I'm like, you African Americans, you don't even know where you're from, B, but you're getting to Adele. Allow it.
Oh, you see where to.
It was early.
I'm sorry. Well, not all of you, but a majority don't really know where you're from. It's only recently that you feel like, let me now come and find my roots. So let me be advocate for, oh boy, you've been lost for a minute. So don't now be championing for something. Find yourself first before you start fighting battles with people that aren't even vexed.
Claire's like my HBCU is watching this right now.
Right? Don't get me canceled here.
No offense.
I think that's like something that we could also talk about maybe like on another episode.
Yeah.
There's such difference. There's so much difference in like the identity of Black Americans and then the identity of Black English people, and just like, you know, how we feel, how Black Americans might feel entitled to just Blackness as a whole, including Jamaicans, which is why they took it so personally that Adele did what she did. Whereas, you know, Black people in the UK are like, this is our culture. Like that's a whole nother hole to go down. Yeah.
And I'm basically how we deal with microaggressions, because I think it's entirely different. I feel like the British Blacks have learned to deal with microaggressions in like very more nuanced ways versus us here. I feel like I feel like here when we hear, it was like, yo, what was that, Bob? Did you say niggers? Was that nigger? What was that?
Was it a hard ER? Is that what I heard?
Like let's circle back. But I feel like the British Blacks have been more, like, I would say, tame about it. They've just been more subtle about it. So it hasn't been.
I think that's because the racism that we've experienced here in the UK, and I can only talk for myself, it hasn't really been that overt. It's been very covert. So it would have been like institutionalized, or within the corporate working system, or within, where it's never been in your face. Whereas in the US, from what I see, I've never lived there, I don't know, you guys can educate me, it just seems to be very in your face. So you kind of have to be like, oh boy, like, what's popping? Let's rock, you know? Whereas ours, we've just learned how to, bro, you know?
Brush it off, right.
Which isn't great either, because racism is racism, whether it be covert, overt, internalized, externalized, in your face, in the back of your head. It's still racism, and it should be addressed, right?
Definitely.
Our dealing mechanisms have been adapted to suit the situations that we are in, so that's how we react.
Yeah.
But what's our verdict? Was it appropriation or appreciation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say appreciation. Ike, what do you say?
I say appreciation because the British people on Twitter already shut down everybody. So
I say it was appreciation, and it was blown out of proportion, and people need to relax. Life is not that serious. Okay?
Okay. So speaking of appreciation, I feel like not enough people appreciated the WAP being spoken about so overtly at that. I feel like the response to the music video was basically a response to women feeling sexually liberated in our current world. Where do you guys see what is your stance on the WAP? Do you think it was a negative influence on young women all over the world? Do you think it was just a form of expression, or what is your take? What is your hot take on this?
This, you wanna go?
Okay, so with regards to WAP, wet ass pussy, it didn't really tickle my it didn't tickle me in the right way. Let me be honest. I thought the visuals and all of that was sick. Like the video, I don't think I've seen a video like that before. I was just like, how did they do that? All of the walls and everything is just like Charlie's Chocolate Factory, but like 2020 HD sort of vibe. And I do understand women feeling liberated by owning their sexuality, their femininity. How do you say it?
Yeah, femininity.
Femininity, yeah. Sorry guys, I did go to school, but sometimes it just my brain just goes. Their femininity, and just owning who they are, because that's something that hasn't been afforded to them in history. Yeah, you haven't been able to overtly express how sexual you are, or if your pussy is wet, or it's just been frowned upon to speak about it in such a way. However, I don't think that it should be spoken about that way. I don't think it was tasteful. I don't think it was a great message to send to younger girls who are completely lost in the source of social media and they haven't formed their identity and self yet, and are very easily manipulated, influenced, malleable to whatever is cool right now. And I know if I was 12, social media, you're allowed to be on it like whatever age, right? 12, 11, whatever age, right?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
My major pop star saying that I've got this wet ass pussy and I'm singing wet ass pussy. What do I even know about wet ass pussy at 11? What is that? What is that? And I just don't think it was the right message to send. And I think you can be liberated as a woman without having to speak so much on sex, your sexual bits, and all of those things. Not saying you cannot, but I don't think it should have been done by those leading ladies in that way.
Okay, I respect that and I understand that, but like obviously I'm a WAP fan. I mean, I think for me, like when I think about my introduction to rap music, when I think about my introduction to sex, like I mean, I was just looking it up, like children are exposed to sex and to pornography as young as 9 years old. So like they're already kind of receiving messages on it, whether it's like on mainstream TV, of course on digital media. Yes.
Is that good though?
It's not saying it's good or bad, but it's the reality of it, where it's like, as long as a child is tuned into media, these are messages that they are receiving. So again, when I go back to, I grew up in Texas, like the dirty South. So like I grew up listening to like Webby, Trina, Lil Boosie, like Bun B, Slim Thug, and I fuck with their music, but like a lot of their music was overly sexualized, and it was always in the male gaze. It was always talking about how women are basically like used as objects, and we're just here to like make a man come. And like, apart from maybe like Trina or Lil Kim, all of the agency of sex was in the hands of the man. And so what I liked about WAP is that it's kind of like celebrating a woman talking about like her body and like owning her sexuality and like being in charge of that shit. And like people, and again, I'm biased because I'm from Texas and I love Megan Thee Stallion, but that's one thing that I love about her music, is that she's like talking her shit, and she's talking about making herself feel good, and just like switching the narrative that like, sex ends when a man comes, and if it doesn't, then like you got fucked, you know what I'm saying? And so I think it's like these messages are already happening, and I think it's important that if young girls are already going to be exposed to them, they have the option to also hear about what it sounds like from a woman saying it, instead of just hearing from like a Webby song that like he should just, finish and be done with you.
I feel you, yeah. But
So Claire is saying if more young women knew that their orgasms were a priority at an early age, it'll give them a better experience of an adulthood in sex.
It changes the narrative like about sex, because like even in pornography, it's like porn is made for men. It's only recently that there are like women directors and like women producers that are in charge of it, because it's always been, you know, it's always being done to the woman. And so I think these conversations, like we're already leaning more into a even more sexualized society. So for people growing up and being introduced to sex, it's nice for me, for people to like, and BC, I see you over there, like you guys understand. I think
no, I feel you. I was just no, finish.
Yeah, no, I just think it's nice for women to now kind of have like more mainstream conversations on what it looks like for a woman to be in power and in control of her sexuality. And it's like, and again, here's my thing. People love to, you know, people talk about Future and how he's the GOAT, and he's been talking about sex, drugs, baby mamas, and ain't shit negatory for years, and it still goes hard. Megan and Cardi B put out a song talking their shit about, you know, how they feel what they provide is good, and then now it's like, you know, people in office, people just have these like, everybody wants to have an opinion, and I'm just tired. I'm just tired.
I feel you on that, because the same energy isn't given when the guys are doing their thing and talking about how good their dick is or how good they make women feel or how many girls they've been with. So I get you on that. I pulled a face when you said we're moving into a society that's more sexual, and I'm just like, bro, like we actually are, and it's so unnecessary, bro. Sex has been existing from day. Why are we now just putting it out there for everyone to see? Just long for me.
I mean, sex has been existing, but to what extent, right? Because it exists, but like there are a lot of things that are not spoken about. The education, the liberties. Like, for example, when we all found out, I don't know if you guys know about the research on how many heterosexual women actually experience orgasms in their lifetime.
Oh yeah,
and the number was something.
Yeah,
the number was something.
But we're women though, so we kind of know that we don't always.
Right, all women are suffering this. So imagine, right? Imagine saying, "Oh, sex has always been here. It's always been here. Yet women haven't gotten the best of it in our entire existence."
Yeah.
So what you're saying that?
Sorry, go on.
And I'm saying a lot of it has to do with our lack of conversation about it. Our the taboo effect of it is what's causing this.
And we should have those conversations, and we can have those conversations. It's just the way in which those conversations are had and how accessible they are to many people. I don't think I would have had an issue if we had a censored version for younger kids and a normal version for adults. I don't think I would have had an issue. Obviously on radio, we've got the radio edit, we've got the clean edits, but people nowadays don't really listen to the radio right now. They they either stream it online, or wait, they just stream it online. So
then
my 11-year-old cousin.
So this is a much deeper problem, because now it's not actually sex to blame, it's access. And censorship.
Yeah. And people that are putting out this content, I think they should use their brains to know that they are putting out content that can be received widely by people of a wider spectrum.
But if you do that,
would you want your 9-year-old daughter or 11-year-old daughter to sing "Wet Ass Pussy"? Would you want her to be singing that as she's going to primary school or whatever school, elementary school in America, and be saying, "I got a wet ass pussy"? Oh,
then I'll sit her down and I'll sit her down and tell her about the venereal villain. You know, I'll tell her about.
Claire, would you want that for your daughter?
You can't, you see, but then even that's the thing, you can't then talk to a child about it, because that's how I was like when I had conversations about sex with my parents, it was like, you have sex, you're gonna get a disease and die. So it's like you can't.
Yeah, the African way. Yeah, that's traditional.
Thing. But really, Claire, would you want your daughter doing that?
I feel like if my daughter's gonna listen to it, at least let her listen to that. But here's the thing, I think we should premise this like, I'm very liberal. Like even with my friends, I'm the friend.
What does that mean? What does that even mean?
Like I'm very pro. I'm like I'm very pro everything. I'm very pro hoe, pro sex work, pro live your life how you want to live, because I feel like when you try to police these things, it leads to like destruction. You know what I'm saying? Like trying to police women's bodies leads to more illegal abortions and just like more decisions being made that don't benefit people. I'm just like, why can't people just live? You know what I'm saying? I think even to your point where you're saying like, you know, artists need to think about the art that they're putting out. Like, at what point are we able to tell artists how to put out their art? Because then that becomes, it's not natural to them. And I think it's like Megan and Cardi are specific types of women. Beyonce is a different type of woman. Rihanna is a type of woman. And so like their music that they, yeah,
I think your fears are just a different face of the same fears that Missy has, though, because it's basically, you're saying policing everything will lead to destruction, and Missy is saying this much sexualization is going to lead to destruction ultimately. Sure. And everybody's just scared of extremes, but I don't really think
I think policing is the wrong word to say as well. I don't want to police it. I just think guidelines should be put into place. There's no thing wrong with guidelines. Policing is a bit, you know, mandating, don't do this, don't do that. But guidelines and access.
You know that's how the police started, right? With guidelines. It started with simple.
Let's not be extreme. Guidelines. That's how your parents gave you guidelines growing up.
We're never going to stay within guidelines. As long as there are men who can't provide for a woman with orgasms, they're going to be mad at all sorts of sexual liberation that happens to women regardless.
So Ike, I'm going to ask you, because you're the only male here, and you can just speak for yourself, or you can speak for the male species. There was a lot of men that were up in arms about this song. Why is that? Because it was like, in reality, it's like the song is about providing this service to a man, which is essentially beneficial. So like, what is it? Is it that men are essentially like, you know, offended by a woman's liberation? Or like, why do you think it was received like that by most of the male population? Or
because men are offended by women's liberation. That's at the core of it. Like behind closed doors. Wait, I'll break it down.
I don't know. What did he say? I didn't hear you.
I said men are offended by women's liberation.
Of course they are.
I
just want to have him say it, right?
Exactly. Say it one more time. Again.
Men are offended by women's liberation. That's that. But you see, because I mean, it's mainly because when you speak to men from like Middle East or basically African-born, African race, they have the same premise all the time. They just these Western loose women, and the Western loose women they're describing are Claire and Bissy, that have too many opinions of their own and too many ideas of what they can do with their lives and their body if they want it. And ultimately, it's like, people like Megan, as messed up as it sounds, I know Megan seems like a very over-sexualized version of feminism, but it's blatantly showing, it's making these men come out in broad daylight. It's kind of like how Obama made racists come out with confidence and say, like, you know, like, this president, I don't know, something about him I can't stand. And everyone's like, what? Again, I don't know. You want to just say it. So it's like the same thing with Megan. It's like, she got shot. Very few men empathized with her. And ultimately it was really rooted. And I'll be very transparent to say, like, when I first heard the story, the first thing I thought to myself was, oh, you were talking about that shit right now.
Really?
Right. It's messed up, but it's the man in me, right? I need to kill this man. It's the man in me. I'm working on him. But wait. I mean, you can't it out, but wait. But the man in me was like, well, you want to talk all that stuff in a minute, but then at the end of the day, I was like, hey, but it's entertainment, and she's still, and like, every time every rapper gets shot, we still mourn them, and we still feel bad, even though they say all this stuff about shooting people in their music. So like, what makes her less of a human being when she says that? But it's just that my expectation is of a woman to just be a lady and not say those things in her music. So when she gets shot, I'm like, that's what you get for not being a lady. Now, this is me. I use myself as a benchmark here. Now, let's think about all the other men out there who didn't even take a second to think internally. They were just like, man, that bitch been talking about being a street nigga for so long. Fuck out of here. She get a shot. She deserves it. Like, that's really where their head is at. And they're listening to these songs where she's saying, if a nigga eat me out and he don't get a nut, fuck it, I'm going home. Hanging. Like, you know, Megan is saying these messages and men are hearing these things like, yo, like, the fuck, the audacity. Like, what? And she's saying this to all these women. And we know this information is getting out there. Women are being touched by it. Women love her. She is being very impactful. So it's like, damn, yo, what if, like, the next pussy I'm in, like, just has me eat that, just kicks me out after eating it. Like, I don't, like, these fears are there. Like, this extreme liberation, like, where's it gonna head to, right? What's gonna happen? Am I gonna get played?
We're gonna rule the world.
Basically.
I mean,
basically, which I don't have a problem with. I think it's great. I think we've been ruling the world for the longest time. We just put you guys at the front to manage.
Yeah. You've been ruling the world from the shadows. Like, if anybody who knows history well knows that every great man, there was some woman rubbing his hair next. So everyone knows that. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, I think women should come to the forefront. I think the mistake would be assuming that women are void of like any immoral behaviors or like anything like that has to do with greed or corruption. Like, women are still like human. I feel like that's the only message that gets lost in the sauce, where it's kind of like, okay, like women power, but in a sense, like, with that same sexism that's happening, that's causing this uprising of women, can also like add fire to the flame, because then it says, oh, no woman is guilty, everyone is innocent, you know?
Yeah.
But that's just.
And on that point of women liberation, right? I think the reason why I more so have like issues with just how everything's just overly sexualized and how that liberation that's coming is really, really honed on sexuality and your femininity and all of that stuff. I just don't feel like there's a balance enough. Like, I feel like a woman can be very liberated, and the message of women's liberation could come from various other aspects, including sex. But I just feel like
you have to put the human factor in. Yeah, but you have to put the human factor in.
Yeah, but humans do other things than sex.
Yeah, we do other things than sex. But
and men are great for other things than sex. Like, when we think about men and leading men and how great they are, we think about maybe their job roles or the fact that they're charismatic or the fact they can lead a people. And when we're talking about women's liberation, it more so leads to the fact that she owns her sexuality. It's not really the fact that she
because that's the only way. That's the only way. Because that's the only way men pay attention, unfortunately. Because when you say here's this woman, right? She's powerful, she's well politically placed, she's doing phenomenal things for her country, and she has accomplished so much. Men barely ever bat like an eye at that. We do not. It goes over our head. Oh yeah, 6 figures, cool. We're like, oh, who knows how she got the money? How did she get there? We ignore topics like that. Oprah has been a billionaire for how long? Very few men praise her. Very few men. There's very few black men that are out here like, yo, Oprah out here killing me. No, because we're passive about that kind of success. But the minute that you say some black woman sucked 7, no black woman I've heard of has done this, but some black woman sucked 7 dicks. And she started a business, and it got like to $1 million in net worth. The 7 dick sucking will cause men to pay attention to the net worth.
Yeah, but
and
I mean,
messed up.
But I mean, like, if we're thinking about, young women having examples of what feminism looks like, I think that there's an abundance of politically correct and appropriate examples. There's Michelle Obama, Elizabeth Warren, there's Gail, there's Malala, that girl from.
You said abundance.
There's
abundance.
There's a lot, but
there's a lot. But are they put in the media that way?
They are.
But they are. You see, they are. But
guys, don't be lying to yourselves. I know they exist, but the media doesn't scream about them the way they scream about the people that are liberating sex.
But when you think about it, like the battle over women's bodies has been like a timeless. That's been a battle that's been going on, because even if we're not arguing about sexual liberation, we're arguing just to be able to make decisions about what the baby that we like, whether like just decisions about our bodies. So I feel like that's an argument that's like always, it sucks because it's like, let us just make the damn decisions about ourselves, but that's an argument that's always going to be at the forefront. And then sex, especially because even if we're not talking about sex, men are for surely talking about sex. And then when it comes to conversations 100%. About sex, I think that there's like this expectation that men are allowed to have as much sex as they want, but then there's so many men that are like, I'm not gay. So I'm like, okay, so you're clearly having sex with a woman. So like, shouldn't the conversations, be leveled on both sides having opinions and being able to speak on it? Yeah,
they should have conversations and it should be leveled and everyone should speak about it. But I just feel like we need to balance.
Like I feel like powerful women are there and they do phenomenal things. But again, no one's paying attention until it gets sexualized. Like Naomi Osaka is doing great. She's killing it at a very young age. But she's so well behaved that the media is not making her a thing. Like she's there, but she's so well behaved, the media's not making her a thing. Serena Williams was well behaved, but guess what? When we saw that ass, it started making headlines. And then you had men in the conversation like, yo, you see that Serena girl? You see,
guys, it's really not all about it. It's not about the men. I'm being dead serious.
It's not all about. It's not about men, right? But again, when that topic comes up, once something is sexualized, for some reason, everybody's eyes gets glued. We all of a sudden stop and focus. WAP, the kind of focus we had for WAP is like, we haven't seen that since the debates with Obama in it. Like no one, or Trump, like no one has seen that. Like it's insane amount of time for ass shaking and titty shaking on screen. It's an insane amount of time.
My head is blown.
I didn't watch the video out of free will.
It's a lie. You was curious.
No, that's what I'm saying. I watched the video out of curiosity because after I saw the trending topic, I was like, what's the AP? I click it because these days I'm watching for the end of the world. So I gotta be sure. I saw the WAP. I said, okay, is it a new world order? Is it a missile? What's happening? I click it. I see everybody talking about, oh, the world's falling apart. This is inappropriate. Why are our little girls getting corrupted? I was like, no, corruption, inappropriate. Something's happening here. Click. And I saw it and I was like, yo, I don't know. I don't see, this is no different than anything City Girls. Have you seen City Girls videos?
Yes. We are some city stands. I am.
I think you guys can tell. I just don't engage in such music like that.
I don't engage. I do it out of we do this
most I feel like the music that they make that has just no substance, and it's just a bit like
it has 100%. It has no substance, but this pop culture shit. If you're gonna talk, you know what you're talking about. So before anybody checks you, you just watch it just for the fuck of it, not because you actually like it. But watching City Girls videos, I'm like, listen, like. In fact, WAP was mild because City Girls videos, like, no offense, but like, everything. There's trans, there's straight, there's gays. Everybody's twerking. Everybody's twerking in videos.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, imagine, I'm telling you, people are getting offended by WAP. WAP had one gender. One gender.
Yeah, and I mean, if you attribute it back to what Bissy was saying, people are bored. People have time to just pay attention to things more than they did before, which I think is just like makes everything trend harder,
Yeah, I feel you. But can I just have a message again? The message is to all the young babes watching this. If you are young and watching this, your liberation, comes from sex and stuff, but there's various other things that you can engage in to be liberated. And you do not need, because everybody is watching and sexualizing it and making it trend, you do not need to engage in such if you do not want to. You have free will to choose other things to be liberated or to cause your liberation, okay?
Save that for your king, okay? You save those treasures for your king. That's what.
Be quiet.
I was gonna say period, and then I had to jump in and just goodness, men.